Murmur, the true master of necromancy and philosophy. In this video I will talk about the great Duke and Earl Murmur mentioned in the Ars Goetia. I will share my own experience, information that I've gathered so you have a starting point of your journey with Murmur, as well as some insights into the ritual process. Now Murmur is mentioned in the Ars Goetia, where he holds the rank of a mighty Duke and Earl, and he governs over 30 legions of spirits. One legion can be multiple thousands of spirits, so this gives you a great insight about the authority and the power that these ancient teachers, ancient demons hold. They have thousands, tens of thousands of spirits and nethers with them, commanding them, and they are really royal and really influential and really powerful. Now Murmur is the 54th spirit out of the Ars Goetia, and the text of the Ars Goetia, where he is mentioned, goes as follows. I seek to read it out to you so you have the origin of the magical text where he is mentioned. Murmur or Murmus, the 54th spirit, is called Murmur or Murmus or Murmux. He's a great duke and an earl, and appeareth in the form of a warrior riding upon a griffin with a dual crown upon his head. I think this depiction is quite accurate. There do go before him those his ministers with great trumpets sounding, again something that I've experienced in my own working with him. His office is to teach philosophy perfectly, 100% can vouch for that, and to constrain souls deceased to come before the Exorcist to answer those questions which he may wish to put to them if desired. He was partly of the order of the thrones and partly of that of the angels. He now ruleth 30 legions of spirits, and his seal, so on and so forth. Now further on to this reference, when Murmur was an angel known as Matthias, he was framed as the great Duke of the Thrones, but he joined Lucifer's rebellion, pretty much, right? And again, with these biblical texts, they are an interesting, I think, information point to give you somewhat of an historic insight, but I would not judge them as the 100% accurate representation of what the spirit really is, more so as a tale. Now, you can make your own judgment through your own research and perception, whatever resonates with you best. Murmur is depicted as a warrior riding a griffin wearing a crown, and I do think it's kind of an accurate representation and goes hand in hand of the visualization and astral representation that I've experienced when working with Murmur. It is also said that there are his ministers coming before him sounding the trumpets. And you can really hear the trumpets if you are tuned in to the ritual. I also believe that with the visual representations of Murmur, and on top of that the associations that you gather and learn over the course of your research into the spirit, you can use these keys as cues during your ride to tap into the frequency and deeply connect with the spirit and align yourself basically to the current of Murmur. When it comes to his field of expertise, Murmur is a great master in both necromancy and philosophy. He can help you in gathering the tools, information, and initiation, quote-unquote, into the spirit and current of working with the dead and deceased. He can help you in all matters of necromancy, in all matters of magic that involves the dead, the deceased. He may also help you to keep your rituals safe during your necromantic workings and your necromantic magic. Murmur can hinder the dead from overstaying their welcome, possessing a medium, or harming the living. So he can also help you to keep your necromantic operation in a safe and sound manner. When it comes to philosophy, Murmur truly represents philosophy in his whole being, in the way that he communicates, in the way that he treats the practitioner during a ritual. He's sharing insights, he's giving a further up sort of bird's eye perspective on issues, manifestations, on events in your life, on mental, spiritual, physical matters, and he helps you to understand everything in a deeper and more insightful way. Now you may ask yourself, what does philosophy has to do with my life or with the specific purpose that I'm chasing after or manifesting? And I can tell you it has a lot to do with it, because Murmur gives you a perspective that is so insightful and deep that you are able to reflect and understand things and matters in a way that you would have never otherwise did. In this sort of perspective, he's truly wise in his teachings, and he can truly help you to gather knowledge about yourself, about the way that you think, are, be, and will be. And very often in my working with him, it has been the case that he has shared an insight that I first was struggling to understand, but it was sort of a riddle that then came into sense and purpose over the following days and weeks, and I truly understand the philosophical meaning behind it, making me stronger, more potent, and powerful in my way of going through life each and every single day. That aspect of a teacher, of a truly philosophical master, really shines through when working with Murmur. And it is truly rewarding and truly a blessing in the way that he teaches you and in the way that he explains things, may they be specific or general or truly deep to your own life and to your own meaning. Very, very insightful things that you may have never seen this way before. And as I've mentioned before, in his two, I want to say specialities, right, necromancy and philosophy, he's truly an ascended master. In all manners of necromancy, he's able to help you. May it be with the gathering of knowledge, specific insights, or general understanding, as well as in the philosophical way that kind of makes up almost his whole way of teaching and being, where he is truly that philosophical master and teacher in the way that he communicates with the practitioner. Now, before we deep dive into the practical side of things, the associations, offerings, and ritual process, there's one more text I would like to quote, and this is out of the Goetia, the demonology Goetia from S. Connolly, an absolutely brilliant author and somebody I would recommend you to read and look into if you are looking to get started with magic and working with the demons. In her Goetia, she quotes the following: "Murmur for me was one of the more aggressive and intimidating necromantic demons of the Goetia. I found this to be a very interesting statement. Now, I have not made this experience, but as my experience is different, so may be yours. I wanted to share nonetheless my perspective here, not invalidating this statement or experience, but sharing my thoughts on it. I think that Murmur is very straight to the point. He is ancient, and in his way of teaching, he is philosophical. And he won't fool around, most obviously. He is to be treated with the greatest and most upright respect, with the proper way of conducting a ritual, of course. He, nonetheless, is very giving, very insightful, very much of the character of an ancient teacher. He is straight to the point, and he doesn't fool around. But for me, for my personal experience, he has not been aggressive. It has been very rewarding to work with him, very insightful, and he has helped me greatly in multiple rituals, as well as my own way of thinking and shaping my life. So from my personal experience, again, yours may be different. He is not aggressive, and he is not particularly intimidating. Intimidating maybe in the power and knowledge that he holds, in that he is very straightforward. But he didn't seem aggressive in a negative way to me. The planetary association of Murmur is Venus, and therefore the associated day where it's best to summon Murmur is Friday. Most optimally during the hour of Venus. Now, is it absolutely necessary? I would not say so. Will it help? Most likely. I truly believe that the more odds you stack into your favor when it comes to conducting a ritual, the more powerful the outcome will be, and the more you also prove yourself to be thoughtful in the way of conducting the ritual. When it comes to offerings, spices, planetary associations, times of the week or times of the day, you can really stack the odds into your favor of making the ritual more powerful and potent by the effort that you put into it. Same as with the research, same as with the way that you do and conduct your altar. All of these details shall not hinder you from having a successful ritual, but they may enhance the potency of the rite. When it comes to the best offerings to the Great Duke Murmur, his color association is green. So you may use green candles, carve the name or sigil of Murmur into these candles, and then consecrate them. The incense that is most associated with Murmur is sandalwood. You can also use sandalwood scent to consecrate the candles in that scent. Now, on top of that, what I like to do is, when I have this particular color association, I like to gather items in the same color. So you can use items of the color green, fruits or foods, whatever you may find, and what your intuition tells you is fitting. You can then decorate the altar in a way and manner that is pleasing to the spirit using the color associations. One of the best offerings to any spirit and a powerful spiritual currency is, of course, blood. And the way that you would go about offering your own blood and making a quote-unquote blood sacrifice is you would use a diabetic lancet, prick your finger, and then squeeze the blood onto the seal and sigil of Murmur, distributing it onto the sigil. Blood is a very powerful spiritual currency and is the key to life and manifestation, and can be made sacred as your own life force energy being dedicated to the daemon. Now again, I've given this disclaimer at the beginning of the video. If you are conducting a ritual, you should be knowing what you are doing in terms of protection, in terms of everything. This is only for the people who know what they're doing and who know what this basically means. Nonetheless, I would recommend to everybody who fulfills this criteria to include blood as an offering into their rite and ritual. The metal association of Murmur is copper. Also other metals associated with him like iron or gold that you may use to decorate the altar. You can also craft things, maybe his sigil, out of these metals and decorate the altar with it. There are certain plant associations like oak bark, rosemary or parsley. And then what I can also recommend to you is looking into the plant or other associations that are connected to the planet of Venus, and then leveraging these as offerings and going with your intuition or communication in order to see what Murmur prefers of these herbs or spices associated with the planet Venus. You may also use offerings like alcohol. This is something that I've used before, but you can use the color associations, planetary associations, the most powerful form of spiritual currency, which is blood. And then you can also leverage your own communication or intuition into what you seek to give and or giving things that you personally enjoy. Now, whether you are looking to get into necromancy or you have events in your life, particular cognitions, manifestations that you seek help with, understanding with, whether it is that you need advancement in your practice of magic, Murmur is a great teacher to consult with. In all things necromancy, knowledge, philosophy, understanding, evolving, mindset, manifestation, magical practice, he is a great teacher to help you in all of these things and aspects and parts of life or your own journey. And I can only repeat myself in saying that working with him is truly insightful and rewarding and can really enhance your life in a deep and meaningful way and manner. He can answer to your questions, to your deepest questions or cognitions. He can give you perspective, guidance, protection. He can help you advance. And Murmur truly has many meaningful aspects of being a great and powerful teacher. Now I want to share a saying with you. The way of the warrior is a steep and lonely one. It is a pleasant and rewarding one, for the destination is fulfillment. Now, as you know, Murmur is depicted as a warrior, riding a griffin. He's depicted as a powerful warrior and duke. And the underlying principle of the statement is that the left-hand path may come with unique obstacles. Life may come with unique obstacles and challenges. But by advancing through them, it not only makes you stronger, but it fulfills you deeply more than just living in the mundane. Speaking about the ritual process with Murmur, his enchanting is Wefa Mena Murmur Ayer. And the way, briefly going into it and over it, how I personally conduct a ritual and some recommendations or tips that I've gathered along my journey are the following. Step number one is always the research. Try to find out as much information, association, ancient text, history, pictures, whatever it is about the spirit. Gather and learn as much as you can. Step two would be aligning yourself with the frequency, with the current and the conscious, by repeated meditation onto his enchanting sigil or pictures. This way you can already align your frequency with the Great Murmur. And then coming into the actual ritual, I've talked about this process multiple times here on this channel. So going into the ritual process, what you would do is, first things first, making sure that you have your circle of protection, whatever you may be, and this is an individual process that again demands you doing your own research. You would start by chanting the N of Murmur repeatedly, and you can do this after going into a meditative trance. The trance is always the mandatory part of the rite. Going into the trance by meditation is what I would personally recommend. You can meditate on his sigil, you can meditate on yourself, or you can meditate on his enchanting repeatedly until you feel your thoughts are becoming muted in the back of your mind and you're able to distinguish between your own thoughts and injected thoughts from this ancient conscious that you're connecting with. Now, then you go ahead and use this key of words, the enchanting, and repeatedly say it vibrated to open the gates and portals. You use all the associations that you have gathered, all the names, all the history, and kind of craft your own way of enchanting and conjuring the spirit by letting your creativity and flow go and mentioning everything that you have learned about the spirit. So you're calling the spirit forth with this. You're visualizing the energy, the color green, the sigil, everything that you have gathered in order to tap into and align with the frequency. Now that is kind of the initiatory process. during the ritual, the body of the ritual, I would recommend then to dedicate the offerings, to consecrate the offerings to Murmur, and to dedicate them to Murmur, that he and only he and his legions may consume the offerings that you bring forth. During the body of the ritual, it is then important to know what your intention is. Is it something like a specific manifestation, or do you seek knowledge and insights? Depending on what it is, your skills need to be at a certain level. So if you are seeking knowledge and insights, you need to be able to receive the messages of the Spirit, and therefore you need to do the right preparatory work. If it is something where you seek a specific manifestation, you may make a petition during the ritual, writing it down on a piece of paper or parchment, and you can draw the sigil of Murmur on the back. During this body of the ritual, you can then read out your petition and what you are doing versus what you are seeking in return, making a sincere petition, never a command, but basically asking for a specific help and offering something in return. That may be a repeated ritual, that may be an offering every day or once a week or multiple months in a row, or whatever it may be. Basically writing out a micro agreement of what you are seeking versus what you are willing to do. And this is the body of the ritual. The body of the ritual is very much dependent on what you are seeking to get out of the rite and ritual, and what you want to manifest, or what you want to know about. Now, after this body of the ritual is conducted, you may burn your petition, releasing the energy into the fire. You may also burn your seal and sigil that you have used and anoint it with your own blood, as stated before. The anointment of the blood can be done during the calling or the dedicating of the items and offerings. I personally think it is a potent way and gateway. So after you do the enchanting, you can consecrate the seal and sigil with your blood, and therefore drawing forth and opening and charging the energy. You can also stare deeply into the seal and sigil, anoint it with your blood, hold it into your hands, and truly connect with it to align yourself with the Spirit and conscious. Now, after this body of the ritual is done, you will close the rite by thanking Murmur sincerely and giving quote-unquote the license to depart, which I think is not really an accurate representation, because you're never commanding the Spirit. You're never saying, okay, that's it, you can go now. It is more so a sincere way of saying, thank you for coming, thank you for answering my call. Please close the gates that have been opened, and you may depart as you wish to. I like to give this sort of freedom to the entities that I work with, and making sure that I would never ever even think about commanding anything to or for them. It is always making sincere petitions, asking in a friendly way, and giving in return. It is a giving and taking relationship. And trust me, if you're conducting it the right way, you will always receive more than what you give, because the things that you do receive are so insightful, meaningful, and can shape and change your life in so complex ways and manners that it is truly a bliss. Now, this is a brief insight into the ritual process. Let's gather some final words here. Now, my experience with Murmur has been blissful, a true blessing, meaningful, deeply insightful, and it is something that has enriched my life in a very potent way. I want to invite you here at the end of this video to leave your comments down below if you have made an experience with Murmur, right? To share your experience so that people watching this video have more than just my experience. I think it is your duty to do so if you have worked with the spirits, to share your experience and make sure that these ancient gods get the credit that they deserve. So if you have worked with Murmur, please be so kind as to share your experience below. I think it is something that can help others who maybe want to make the step of doing so. So let's open up a little forum below this video of experiences with Murmur and maybe some gratefulness towards his spirit. Now, I want to end this video with the final words of thank you, Great Duke Murmur, for everything that you have enriched my life with, for all the learnings that you have blessed me with, for all the insights and knowledge that you have bestowed upon me, for all the help that you have blessed me with. I'm forever grateful. All hail to you, Great Duke Murmur. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.